Dear Jyoti, I am so sorry. I have been thinking of you for over 6 months, wondering how I might honor your memory a year after you've been gone. I scribbled ideas for posters and made a storyboard for a short film. I asked people to help me brainstorm. I reread my last letter to you over 50 times. Nothing came. The shock of what happened to you has not settled. Every time I read my words to you out loud, I am brought to tears. It's not just me. So many women I know have been silenced by what the society around them is capable of inflicting. Otherwise bold, outspoken women who I have known to always act on their ideals have kept quiet. They are still recovering. They don't know what to say. It may be because only we can imagine what such a perverse penetration of our bodies could feel like. It may be because we still don't know how to explain, even to our closest, that we have been violated. Maybe we're numb. We hear the police say, if you can't prevent rape, you enjoy it. We hear our friends say, I want a piece of that ass. We allow it. We laugh in casual jest, and we allow it. I was angry when I wrote to you last. I didn't want people to forget you, because I knew they would. I can't say there hasn't been progress, though. Laws have changed, security measures have improved, and activism has not dwindled. But I'm even more scared now, because lurking under the surface of this progress is still that disgusting mentality that women can be treated like crap. 98% of rape victims in India know their attacker. So while we advance in the public domain, we are doing very little in the private. 98% of rape victims know their attacker. That's a cousin, an uncle, a family friend, a neighbor. That's people we know, people we already know. We are surrounded by these people, probably 98% of the time. That's our children. That's men we've raised. Maybe people think it's not their responsibility, that they are so far removed from such incidences, but they are not. If they think that a gang rape on a bus in Delhi has nothing to do with their children at home, they are wrong. If they think they carry no responsibility for the wider consciousness of the society in which they live, they are mistaken. Jyoti, your rapists were babies once. Not yet tied to your fate, they grew up like children do. They could have been your brother's child, or my child, or my best friend's. They grew up soaking in a mentality to which every single person has, and continues to, contribute. They were from villages in Rajasthan, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, and other areas remote enough for us to presume our society is nothing like where they came from. They were poor. One went to school, one even enrolled in university. They all moved to Delhi, a city big enough to find rich, poor, spoilt, grateful, respectful, and chauvinist. Every kind of man and woman surrounded them. But remote village or capital city, some things must have felt the same. Husbands who barked orders at their wives, sons given more money and opportunity, women who doubted themselves and let their insecurities translate into dependence. Draped in a sari or dressed in a miniskirt, it must have always been apparent that women could be forced into submission, sexual or emotional, against their will and at any cost. Billboards must have supported it, movies must have encouraged it, bright lights and dark nights must have allowed it. Your rapist must have heard it somewhere, in the vulgar banter of men in bars, the giggles of prostitutes on the street, the sobs of grandmothers on TV serials. They might have heard it in the way their mother's voice shook when she argued with their father. They could have heard it in my voice, too. Jyoti, I'm ashamed of myself. I'm ashamed of people like myself, born into privilege, who think their high society problems are so unrelated to base actions taking place in circles they consider to be beneath them. But they're not, are they? The problems are not beneath them. They're in front of their faces, in the channels they watch, the gendered roles they act out in their, quote, modern marriages, the toys they buy for their daughters versus their sons, the verbal abuse they endure in silence. I looked into your rapist's eyes, Jyoti. I stared at their pictures on the BBC, desperately searching for evil, for some thread of common wickedness running through them all. I didn't find it, though. What I found was my own hatred towards them, reflecting back. What I found were the faces of average men. If I had seen them on the street, I would not have looked twice. They would have blended into the broader backdrop of accumulated ignorance. I don't know what to do. I want to tell people that it's not enough to remember you once every year, or once every 6 months, or once in a while. It's not enough to look at extreme incidents as one-off outliers removed from our daily lives. Every single day, our actions ripple into the thoughts and assumptions of the people around us, including our children. Our expectations of them and of each other infiltrate their belief systems in ways we cannot control. A mistaken slap unleashed in anger, a fleeting look of condescension, a derogatory comment, even if to a loved one. These are the tiny specks of black dust that settle permanently in their perspectives, darkening the lens with which they see the world. And if it gets dark enough, they will clutch at anything in the night that provides temporary satisfaction. Jyoti, I am very sorry that you were a victim of that reach in the night. Nothing about you, what you wore, how you looked, or who you were with, is to blame. I still don't know how to honor your memory, or make other people understand how deep of a shift in routine utterances and attitudes is required. So to you, I make this simple promise. I will remember to reflect on my black dust. I will think about how my actions, intentional or not, darken the lens of the perceptions around me. My 2-year-old nephew, my 81-year-old aunt, my colleagues, the man who takes my coffee order in the morning. I will be mindful of what I do, even if inadvertently, of what I allow, even if begrudgingly, of what I say, and more importantly, what I do not. I keep quiet a lot, Jyoti, mainly because I want to avoid confrontation, but also because I believe that most of the time my words won't make a difference, that a person only changes after a self-developed realization. But in the same way harmful thoughts carry weight, I suppose progressive ones should too. Perhaps, with time and truer thought, we can clear the lens of our collective consciousness. I miss you, Jyoti. Though I never met you, often I wish you were around to speak for your own story, your own strength. I'm sorry if anything I have said sounds trivial to you. It comes from naivety. I hope it is so bright where you are, and I hope it makes what was the darkest of devil actions seem like a tiny drop on an infinitely better horizon. May you rest in peace and endless light.